So I looked at life in the sense that, hey, you work, then you die. That cannot be life, right?
This is Shock Life Confessions podcast with me, Reza Abraham. Our guest today is one of the Asia's most influential leader. He's a graduate in economics and MBA from Leicester University, UK. Throughout his illustrious career, he has made significant contribution to various sectors, including banking, technology, management consulting, and professional services. To name some of the highlights of his career, he's a deputy CIO from Bank Brown Shipley. He has a decade-long partnership with Ernst & Young, and currently he excels as the country managing director of Accenture, Malaysia, a role he has held for the past 7 years. In his leisure time, he acts video games and committee member for the Football Association of Malaysia. So let's welcome Mr. Azwan Baharuddin. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Reza. Good to be here.
Thank you. You don't look like what we call that, a technology company CEO, you know. So you have like a lot of joy, a lot of energy, a lot of fun. So where does that come from? Have you been like this like all the time?
I think I have. I think I have. And the biggest strength I think I have is basically the ability to create new relationships quickly. Right? So when I'm around people, I try to include them in conversations. So it's quite easy, you know, when you're like that. So then you create a bigger network.
Yeah.
You have, one thing you have to have is, for me, is a lot of fun all the time. So no fun means the job is not great.
Getting along with other people.
Yeah.
So that's why one of the things that I know that they say the top leaders are there not because of the high IQ. It's because of the high EQ that they have. It's like they're very people smart. They can get along with other people. They can rally the whole team, along. So that is something that I think you like.
No, you have to
shine, in that area.
Yeah, you have to flex. Right? So in this world, there are 4 types of characters, right? So one who's a driver who doesn't like to talk much. So you've got to get to the point very, very quickly. And then the expressive, which is like myself, who just loves to talk. Right, may not get you anywhere, but it's a conversation. It's quite fun. There's analytical folks, which are more the accountants, which need every answer to every question in their heads before they can make a decision. And the amiables, basically those who just want to make everybody happy, but sometimes at the cost of their own happiness.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So you got to make sure that you're aware who you're talking to, and you figure out their styles, and then you accommodate. Right. You cannot have, you have someone like me being like this, and then you have a very serious guy in front of you, right? And then their driver, right? They would hate me, right? So you just have to, because it's like, come on, this guy, stop talking. Anyways, I struggle also, right? When people talk and say, I want these 3 things, 1, 2, 3. Okay, is meeting over? Because
for you, it's over.
Yeah, because. Then, okay. Then you it has happened. So I'm just like, okay, thank you very much. And then you go, okay.
So do you have the serious side, or you try to accompany yourself with a serious person?
No, I actually have a serious side. So I'm one of those guys who is able to have fun, but yet an ability to make decisions when I need to.
Okay.
So that's a superpower, I think.
Nice.
Because it's not so easy. A lot of nice guys, not all, but a lot of nice guys find it difficult to make difficult decisions.
Accommodators.
Yeah.
They just accommodate.
Yeah, but I will just say, what, that's great. But in all seriousness, we'll stop doing that. We start doing this.
Yes.
Right? So, but the trick is to make sure that the guy or the individual in front doesn't feel offended when you say so.
Yes.
That's a key trick.
So that's a likability side of you. They say likable is someone who can make a point, but he doesn't make enemy.
Yes. And that's really hard when you try to fire people sometimes. But
as a leader, you have to do it.
Yeah, but you got to make sure that your point gets through. It's you're not insulting the individual.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. They're saying that there's this one of the values of Amazon where they were saying disagree but commit. Disagree but commit. It means that I know you disagree with me, but we're going to make this decision. Whether this decision is a good decision or a bad decision, but we're going to make it. And you know what? Making a bad decision sometimes is even better than making no decision.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're good at that too?
Yes. Okay. I'm a good team player.
Okay.
Sometimes obviously like everybody else, we don't like some decisions, right?
Yeah.
But then once it's made, you're part of the team, right? So you got to make sure the team delivers first and foremost.
That's right.
So the ability to flex between different types of personas is actually critical, especially in the current role that I have. Because what might suit, for example, the business overall in Southeast Asia, for example, may not be suitable for us.
That's right.
So we're going to make sure that whatever you have, the points that you have to make them. But once it's noted, right, then you say, okay, fine. I will do what you ask because it's for the greater good. That I would do.
Yes. So in the end, basically the decision that you're making is mostly for the company, not for the sake of one individual, right? So
I would say
it's always about Accenture at the end.
No, it's not just Accenture. So my style maybe is evolved over the years, but I would say that most of the decisions have never been about me.
Okay.
Yeah, so my objective in life, which I found, is actually to make others successful. It's the same concept as, when you give, you feel very good, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to receiving.
Yeah.
It's actually the same feeling. So when I make people successful, I get a lot of joy and happiness for that. And you get a lot of loyalty as well.
Yeah.
So once you get that going, all you want to do is make other people successful. And if they're more successful than you, it's even better.
That's right.
But yeah, so if your life philosophy is like that, everybody will like you because when they're near you, they know that you're there to make them successful.
Yeah.
It's not about some people, I take credit, I don't need them.
Okay, that's the humility side of you.
Yeah, but their credit is, success is my credit.
Is your success.
Yeah.
I think late Zig Ziglar, many years ago, he used to say that you get what you want in life when you help other people get what they want in their life.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So you're making other people successful, and that's where, you will get successful. You will. When you see other people around you are doing much better.
Yes. So actually, it's not something I learned personally. So I had a boss many years ago. He's an American, but he was he's an Indian guy who migrated to New York. She combined Indian, New Yorker. I'm walking over here. So he always scolded me for one thing or another, right? So when we went to hire someone, so I was going through, he says, he's always pushing me to hire people who are better than me. And your natural instinct is to say, but why? Because they might take over my job. He said, no, Azwan. He said, always hire people who are smarter than you because, I said, why? Because they make you look good.
That's clever.
Actually, that's true.
Make your life easier.
Yeah, make my life easier. And so that's philosophy. So there was a guy that left me because over one single promotion many years ago, because I never report to you, etc. Because they thought I was not worthy at the time. But several years later, we had another conversation. After he's calmed down, obviously, he said, I figured out the secret of your success. I said, what's that? Because I was trying to ask actually what is that? So I'm trying to learn myself, right? And he said, it's the people you bring in and surround yourself with. I said, that's spot on. So always bring great people to make you and your team successful. Together, you get success.
Nice. Yeah, that's true. There is a humbleness in that leadership where some people basically they don't want to do it because they think if that person is over there, it might all the shine will go on them, and I don't want that. I don't want to lose that shine and the ability of the humble leader, which basically is that they're willing to share and let the other person basically sometimes even take the credit, because in the end we all we all somehow connected, right? So your success is my success. The higher you go, it's like a train, the higher the whole train goes, everybody will go along the way, right? So that's the beauty.
No, I agree. And I didn't even share. I tried to give 100% success away.
Nice.
Right? But
100%.
Yeah. Because when people who do know the personality, they will not accept that. They will say, actually, he's being too humble sometimes. But I lose nothing.
Yeah.
This is my view. I lose nothing.
Have you read Good to Great from Jim Collins?
No.
Oh my God. That's like, that is one of the books that like, I kill people if they don't say they don't. That is one of the best books on earth, right? Good to Great from Jim Collins. So he wrote the book. It's about 20 years book. I mean, it's a series of the book. That's the middle one. What we call that good to great, great to last, something like that. I don't know. It's the third one. And he basically finds something called level 5 leaders. So level 5 leaders, they have these two main qualities. One is that they have an extreme level of humility. And at the same time, they have this ultimate hunger to make things happen. So they bring these two together. So he used this very interesting analogy in the book itself. It's the mirror effect and a glass effect. So the leaders who are very, very good at what they're doing. So what they do when something goes great, they actually turn to a glass. They shine all the credit to the team. When the people ask them like, so how did you manage to do it? They just say like, I'm just blessed because I have a great team. And they say, no, what did you do? They say like, I would have nothing achieved if the team was not there. Right. And then when the things goes wrong, right, they become a mirror. They become a protector. They basically reflect everything on themselves. And they say like, I would have done better. I should have made that rapid decisions and turn things around because my team basically was all the way supportive to me. And that is like, I don't know how many people can do that.
No, I do that.
You do that?
Yeah, I do that.
So let's go back and find out how did you get to this point?
Yeah, sure.
So where does that root come from? How does it develop? You can go all the way back to like where you're born, where you make your living.
No, I think actually my father had a big role in this. So my mom is like me. So that's my mom. And my father is very philosophical. Okay. So he's very quiet.
Type. Okay.
So at one point I was thinking, whether can I marry actually a Persian girlfriend when I'm doing A-levels, so with the UK. So I was arguing with my mom. And then my father would read his newspaper and then we got heated. He just put down his paper and he look at me and look like,
I can imagine that visual already.
They go there and they go next. He's like, I can't be asked with this boy. It's like he's going to go crazy. Right. But I kind of learned the networking part from my mom, right? So when I got married, she's like, she wanted to invite 4,000 friends. This is before the husbands. This is just in a little book, which I'm like, oh my God.
You get yellow pages,
It's like, this is insane. So she knew more people than my father. My father is one of those guys who will play golf at the weekend, but will always be back for every lunch and every dinner. He doesn't go teh tarik, this, that, or the other. So he passed away a couple of years ago. But I take a lot of lessons from him. And one of the biggest lessons that I got from him was this. He said to me, always put yourself in the other person's shoes. So that was big. It sounded simple, but that was big. Because then everything I did, when I speak to someone, even when I want to scold someone, it's like, I cannot do it in public because how would I feel if my boss did the same to me? Right. And even in the room, there is no point screaming because what lesson is going to be learned when I start screaming at somebody? So you start doing that. That's why the humility, right? Say, okay, so you know what? You know where do you screw up? You know that, right? So what are you going to do next? So because people are not stupid either. So then that helped me in all my interactions. And that's how I put people at ease because we have quiet ones. They find it difficult to integrate, to have conversations. So I start, right? So when there are others, so I mean that flexibility. So I try to make people feel at ease and whatever their normal mode is at, I let them be. So that's helped me with client relationships as well.
That's right.
Right? Just because sometimes when we think, we got a solution that will fix world hunger. Well, that's your opinion, isn't it? But the client doesn't have the same opinion and perhaps has a different problem they want to solve. So when you listen to someone in the process of building a relationship or even selling, for example, what I try to do is truly understand where they're coming from. Because sometimes it's not just about making their business successful, but what is it that they want? Because these are two things that are separate. but they're part of the conversation. Is because sometimes the client actually wants to get promoted or wants recognition.
Yep.
And other times, the most surprising conversations is that, Azwan, I just want to go home earlier. Oh, so I thought, you think everyone is motivated by money, right?
Yes,
I thought everyone would be motivated by money, but they're not. So when you put them yourselves in their shoes, you ask questions that, nobody has asked me this question. So when I speak to CEOs, for example, it's always a great conversation. You know why? Because I see them, they can't go home and tell their wives, I had this difficult day. The family's like, Dad, we don't want to know, we got our own problems. That's great, right? And then if they talk to their subordinates, there's impression they think, well, he's weak because why can't he make his up his own mind? Doesn't he know?
Yeah.
Why is he got to confine in us?
That's what they
they're
call
quite
it.
Lonely.
Lonely at the top.
Yeah, no, but he's very lonely. So when you got this guy who comes in and listens, it can be, an hour, half an hour of nothing. But guess what? The conversation at the end is that they actually feel good. And then every time I call, they will say yes. Why? Because they realize every time I come, they feel good. Right?
Nice.
So you build relationships that way. You don't say, hey, you know what? Would you like to? No. No. It's like if you have friends who are insurance salespeople, right? When they call you, you're going to pick up or not?
Oh, no way. No, my current one, yes, because he's the other side. But a classic salesman, no. That's why I say the best salespeople also are not the one that they looks very salesish. In fact, when they call you, they don't have a high energy. Unlike what most people surprised to hear that. It's like the best top salespeople that I have ever worked with, and I really, I'm willing to give my money to them. Is that the one that they don't look like salespeople? They're very kind, very nice. They're not pushy at all. They are very they take back. You just enjoy the conversation with them. So they are very curious to know what success means to you, what success means to me. Rather than it's not about them, it's about both of us. Right? I think that's something that resonate in your conversation just now we have as well, right? You kind of feel actually, what do you want in the end? What success means to you? And some people, they just don't care. They just care about their own success.
That's right.
It's all about me.
Yeah. I've got the sales target, so can you help me?
Yeah. And you know what? That's why they say what's that? They call it as the what's the name? People will only do business with someone who doesn't need them so much.
Yes.
Because the moment you show them that I need you, they will not give you any business.
Yes, no. Actually, so I had an experience once. He was a CIO of a bank. He's still COO of another bank. I'm sure he knows who he is. And the first time I met him, I picked him up. Not the first time I met him, within the first week, and I picked him up for dinner. And he was, thinking that I wanted a deal. So he's saying this, that, or the other. And I said, actually, I think you can solve this either internally or you can use this other vendor who's better at it. So he looked at me and said, I thought you're supposed to sell me something. I said, no. I'm supposed to make you successful.
Yeah.
So that I can have a relationship with you in the long run.
I love it.
But guess what? The next week, he gave me 2 deals anyway. And I met my annual sales target with this new company I worked for in month 4. And I became Asia's top sales guy, most grossing partner in first year and second year.
Nice.
So, but you sell by not selling.
Yes.
So, but anyway, so from my history also, so growing up, I have 2 other sisters who went to the UK when they were very young. So my elder sister went there when she was 12. My younger sister when she was after SRP 15. So I was this guy who said, but I need to eat my rice. So I was so afraid to go overseas. And I only went there at A levels.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's when, that's when I grew up. I think there's different perspective. My father called me a late bloomer.
What's that?
Because I was never confident as a young person. I always felt there's a lot of people who are better than me all the time. Even when I grew up in residential school, so you got the rugby players, the debaters, the hockey, football players, and you're like, okay, so I'm a writer in the Walter KPKM, which is the newsletter, and then you're in second team for tennis, and maybe I only played handball as goalkeeper. That one, the first game we lost 15-12 or something like that.
And you mean the goalkeeper?
So
he's supposed to keep the goals.
So, I tell you, when you grow up wanting recognition, you don't get it.
Sure.
It's tough, huh? Because it's great for all those people who were born smart and had physique for sports. And you're kind of like, neither here nor there. You say, where am I?
Yeah.
And I think that's caused me to be humble also, because, hey, it may not be your day today, but you will eventually get. Everybody has their day.
Yeah.
Right? I say God always gives you a fixed number of credits. It's where you get it, and when you get them is the issue. So based on that, so I was always.
What was your parents actually doing, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So my mom used to work when I was very, very young at KTM. I actually didn't know what she actually did. Sorry, Mom. Yeah. So all I knew was when I went there, all the ladies, the aunties will give me biscuits.
Sure.
So I didn't mind following it to work because I get biscuits in this old tin Milos, and they come out and they kind of feed you or bribe you to keep quiet, maybe. My father was a quantity surveyor.
Okay.
He was a very successful quantity surveyor. I think the firm was at the top 4 in the world, Langdon, Avery and Seah. And here is GUBM. And so he's always there. He was also on the board of Bank Bumiputera many years ago before CIMB came about. He sat on Bank Negara committees for solving really bad situations.
Okay.
So he was that, but he was no drama, no fuss, but he always sighed when he had to bring all these big briefcases. Because now we have the iPad, right? When you wallpaper, so it's not so bad. You can just.
Last time was those like Samsonite leather suitcases.
Oh my God!
Big one.
Yeah, it was like, when's your board meeting next Monday? You go the weekend. He's like, pasted, and I'm thinking, oh my God. Yeah. So I think it's a lot about family that made me what I am today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things that like when you think about your childhood, what is your top like memories of your childhood that is often resurfaced when you think about it?
Actually, maybe not a lot resurfaced, because maybe I thought I was the only boy. So I'm the only boy. So I only had to give in to the girls. But I remember having to always go to the market when my mom wanted to, 5 o'clock in the morning and say, let's go to the market. I'm saying, well, but what about the two girls? But I'm the nice one. I'm always the guy who always do that.
Mama's boy?
Not really also lah.
Not really.
Yeah, not really also. So I'm always the utility guy. Whatever needs to be done, my sisters are not done. Sorry, let's track of the question. What was the question?
Yeah. So your memory of your childhood.
Oh, well, actually, okay. So when I was young, I think I really wanted to be a pilot. So I would, last time, right, when I was young, the time I grew up, I think the best thing that existed was an Atari, which I never got. All my neighbors, my best friends all had Atari, and I never got one. So my parents were like that. So everything had to be justified. And how do you justify an Atari?
Your mom or your dad?
Both.
Both of them.
Both. Because they, you should be studying. So what they didn't know was I was studying, but inside there was a comic book all the time. So that was that kind of guy. So I used to pretend to be a pilot at my mom's dressing table, at the sofa, and pretend that I'm flying a plane. The other one I wanted to be was an architect. Okay. Because I like to draw. I wasn't actually, if I was honest with myself, I wasn't very good, but I thought I was at the time. So between those two things, so those were, you think about I always wanted to be. I thought that. And then somebody said to me, architecture is like 5 years. I say, okay. And then to be a pilot, you need perfect eyesight. I say, okay, that's out. But one thing that my wife did was, I think, knowing this, many years ago there was this company called Red Ribbon Days.
Yes.
And you could buy gifts.
The gift,
So she bought me a gift
pilot
to fly.
a day.
Yeah, pilot. And I did that. And I thought, because I used to do a lot of flight simulators when I was younger, the Microsoft Flight Simulator, right? So I kind of knew how everything worked. And the trainer was saying this, the other. I said, yeah. So I was telling him all this stuff as well. And then we took off. And then he says, that was the most amazing thing in the world. We said, so where do we fly to? So after he took off, and then he said, wait, so where do you fly to? Is you know Wai Utama? I said, yeah, fly to Wai Utama. I said, wait, like how? Visually. So I'm just trying to go around and find it.
I have tried that before too. It's kind of crazy actually, and it's very scary because the airplane that they use, it is not like so top notch.
Okay.
So if you ask me now to do it, I won't do it.
So you're right. So one thing was when you start turning, the wind, the buffeting, you were like, I don't know, the trash or the.
Why did I do that?
So here's the other one. So he said,
life is short.
So on the final turn, so he said, okay, let's turn the runway. So you kind of go from 2,000 feet, you cannot go higher because it's all commercial airlines, but you can't go down. And I realized, I'm completely off. So he said to me, permission take over. I said, okay. So he kind of did this and he landed. But then, after he got off the runway, before I got to the hangar, the engine died. So the guy said to me, I said, I'm sorry, this plane is made in 1972, it's a bit old. I said,
like super old.
Well, if I had known that, so I'm not sure I would have gone through the...
Mine also, it's like 30 years, 40 years old.
Pull the choke like an old car, right? I'm like, what do you mean pulling the choke?
It's like, did you have kids at that point?
I can't remember. Actually it was like, it's in a box.
I did it before we have kids, so if you ask me now, I won't do it.
No, I checked the age of the plane first. I said, it can't be right, the plane 1972, and I'm like, really?
Okay, so then where does that interest to video games and all came to you?
No, I always liked video games all the time. So look, my neighbor always had everything. So my neighbor, this family had Bentleys, Ferraris, you name it. So like 7 or 8 cars outside if you go to the street. And so they've got everything. So imagine living when you got parents give you are very strict, right? And then so you spend most of the time in your neighbor's house, clearly, and he get all this stuff, right? So there was the Apple IIe. So he's got the one with the color many years ago. And then when my father bought me, he said, "This rotten Apple." So what does that mean? I cried because it's monochrome screen. And it's a copy Apple. So I see what you mean. So it's tough, And then so I started playing it, and then I even thought naively at a point in time that hey, you know what? I want a color screen too. So I went to the computer shop. I said, I need a cable to connect my computer to the TV. They asked me why. So it can be in color. She said to me, well, it doesn't work like that. I said, you're stupid. You don't know what I'm talking about. But of course, I was completely wrong. And there was many things I did. And I played lots of games, and I realized, there's lots of games where I wasn't very successful. And I said, how do I make sure I have more money, more credits in these games? So that's when I actually started to learn. And then my parents sent me to coding class. When I was 10. And so I started winning competitions with it, and beat even my tutors in programming. So that's when I knew, hey, I could do this stuff, right? So that's how I...
Were you another Elon Musk or something?
No. It was only for fun.
Yeah. No, Elon Musk also is another one that it was like really into hacking and all. So he actually hacked a game. He built a game at the age of like about 8 or 9 or something. And he sold it about like 5. And that guy is a phenomenal, really,
he's a genius.
He is genius. He finished, can you imagine? He finished the whole Encyclopedia Britannica by the age of like 12 or something. You should read his biography by this guy, Walter Isaacson. He is fantastic. He like all his, he did on Steve Jobs, he did on, Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein, all of them.
But you see, every time I read those kind of books, right, I feel so inferior.
Yeah.
It's like, am I really the country music? So when you see the gap, right, you say, oh my God. So how do these people do that? So they're special.
Yeah.
They're special.
Yeah. So you grown up and you were basically get into your work phases. And so what brought you to the current role that you are?
Okay. So in the previous job I had when I was in Ernst & Young, I was the Asia Pacific sales leader. So I was hardly here. My kids were growing up. In fact, there was a succession plan that said, hey, you know what, Azwan, you should, we are putting you as successor to the global role. And I realized at that point in time, for the first time in my life, I had limited ambition. I thought I had no limits to my ambition.
Sure.
But that was the first time I had limit to my ambition because my kids were growing up and I wasn't seeing them because I was always flying here and there. And what happened was, so I flew to Shanghai, Beijing, came back, played golf for one day. The next day, I flew to Melbourne, Sydney, came back on a Thursday, went to office on a Friday. I was supposed to fly to Seoul on Sunday. I had dengue.
Oh.
Yeah, so the hemorrhaging kind, dengue berdarah. And by, I think Sunday was, it's all a blur to me, but I had to do a platelet transfusion because my platelet dropped to 12. And I had pneumonia as well. And the doctors initially said there's something else, did not show quite what. So I remember that because my wife's birthday is on the 21st, which was on a Saturday. I was looking forward to the Saturday birthday party, so to speak. But Friday I was admitted. And on Monday at 1 o'clock in the morning, or thereabouts, they found my oxygen saturation dropped to 70%. So in COVID, below 93, you're like, or 95, I was 70. So they intubated me and got me into induced coma. I was in coma for about for 2 weeks. I was in ICU for 34 days.
Oh my God.
After I got out of coma, I was hit by multi-resistant superbug, which was worse than the dengue. And at some point I had lung, liver, kidney failures. I'm not supposed to be here. So it took me so many months. I had a male nurse with me for 2 years because I couldn't do much. I was like a vegetable. I had to relearn how to walk. I have so much nerve damage until today. So half my left leg I can't feel. My right hand here has zero nerve connectivity when I got out of hospital. So it's now you have patchy feelings. I don't have connections at the tip of my left fingers.
Wow.
And for 3 years, the least pain I had was, car static electricity. When you touch, it's very painful, right? That was the least pain. The most pain is you take a knife, you stab your right arm from your elbow to your fingers. I had that 8 times once and I cried profusely and I couldn't help myself. Nobody can do anything. So for many years after that, you can, when you light a small candle, you put your hand above, that burns, right?
Yeah.
That's how my right hand feels in the evenings.
Wow.
Yeah. So that changes your perspective on life completely.
Everything. Yeah.
So that went from, I was the most maybe overconfident guy you can meet. The guy said, everything I touch turns to gold. So I was singing songs like I was the greatest thing in the world. And then God said to me, hey, bro, you think you are? Let me send a mosquito. And then that was it. So my life changed. And so I looked at life in the sense that, hey, you work, then you die. That cannot be life, right? That cannot be life. So therefore, I started changing. So therefore, I wanted a different role. So this was very hard for people to understand. I wanted a different role where I can coach and mentor people instead and drive and build something of my own before I go. Because one of my friends said to me, he said, bro, clearly what you had would have killed 3 grown men. So there's something still you have to do. You just got to figure out what. So that's when the Accenture job offer came. And what my mom was the biggest influence. He said to me, how often do people get these kind of offers? I said, never. So why do you think it's come to you now? I said, okay. So I took it. I mean, there were a lot of unhappy people because I still am close to many of the EY partners. But I just had to change.
Yeah.
I did a new life, right? So I had to restart. And that's how I restarted. And that's how, when I came in, we grew like nobody's business.
Nice.
And that's just me driving a better working culture within the firm here.
Nice. Yeah, that's like what you have shared basically. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. That's like a massive trauma, that it really changed people's life. And it turned out very good. So to finish things off, we have this very quick game called Final Confessions, which I'm going to ask you.
No, I didn't do it.
I'm going to ask you a series of like a quick, fiery, random questions, and you must answer them as quickly as possible.
Okay,
shall we? Right. So, what is your favorite vacation spot?
Maldives.
Right. Great.
Expensive, but nothing beats it in my opinion.
And you get nothing to do there too.
Absolutely nothing. And that's from the job that I have, right? So just switching off is the best thing in the world.
Yeah. So, are you an early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Okay. What's the coolest tech gadget on your phone? What's the coolest gadget that you have?
Actually, my phone.
Your phone. Okay. iOS or Android?
Oh, tough one. I have both all the time. I can't decide.
You have to make one.
iOS.
Okay. I'm not gonna ask you why. It's okay. You can give it to yourself.
When you get older, iOS is so much easier.
Oh yeah, I agree. Agree. So, what's your favorite app on your phone?
TikTok. It is.
I am avoiding it until today. What's something most people don't know about you?
I'm actually very, very sensitive.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I'm very, very sensitive. A lot of people say things that hurt me, but I've learned the ability to just compartmentalize and put it away.
Ooh.
But it's not easy for sensitive people to lead because criticism comes fast and furious.
All the time. Beautiful. That's a whole podcast by itself. So what's the one book you believe someone must read?
Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play by Mahan Khalsa. Canadian author.
That. Okay. So what's the most important lesson you have ever learned as the country managing director of Accenture?
Never assume. That's the hardest lesson I've learned because sometimes when somebody is not performing, you assume that they've lost it. But I've done this several times where their mother's sick, somebody's dying, somebody just died. They just don't tell you. And I will never assume anymore.
Yeah.
Ever.
So if you have one day as the Prime Minister of Malaysia and whatever you say, it will get executed, what would you do? What would you change in Malaysia?
I'd ban... No, I can't say that.
TikTok?
I would try to run the country like a corporation. As professional as possible. Bring the absolute best people in the market to solve for the toughest problems. So, if popularity is everything to politicians, a lot of decisions are unfortunately going to be very unpopular to fix for the long term.
I can't vote, but I would definitely vote if I could. For you. Okay, thank you very much, Azwan, for being with us. It was an honor to chat with you.
Thank you, Reza. It was a great experience.
My pleasure. Pleasure is all mine. So guys, it's been a blast sharing with you all. I hope you all enjoyed as much as we do sharing it. So until our next time, take care and stay in control.